I think we all are familiar with various forms of trauma, and we all know someone that unfortunately may have been affected by some type of trauma. And because of this, we all need to acknowledge that, trauma and being exposed to traumatic events is definitely a real thing, and it's something that we all must continue to be sensitive to. Now, there are many forms of trauma, but one type of trauma that I feel like I notice more than not is when some men and women think they have it all figured out, especially when they suffer from childhood trauma. The reason I say that they think they have it all figured out is because some people think that since they're now adult men and they're adult women, that the solution to their childhood trauma is to just simply stuff it down and pretend like everything just went away, like nothing happened, because they are now adults. They're now adult men or they're now adult women. I was recently leading a group counseling session, and the one thing that kept ringing louder and kept getting louder and louder in the conversation, even though each person's story was different from someone else's, but that ringing was louder. And I kept hearing a lot of people say, I'm okay because I'm an adult now. I'm okay because I know how to handle it. I'm okay. I work hard. I'm never gonna do what someone did to me to somebody else. I'm okay. I don't need any help. Or, I watched this one video that I believe solved everything. Or I'm okay and I really don't need to talk with anyone. I don't need any help. I don't need any professional help. And in some of these cases, they felt they definitely don't even need God's help. People suffering from unresolved childhood trauma oftentimes lead to the affected person becoming just like the person that hurt them when they were a child. And this hurt, essentially, what I like to call, it left a bullet hole in that person's life. I know most people think that when they say that time heals, for example, that they believe that just, I've been affected by this, but so many years have passed by, so much time has passed by. And you know what? Time heals. But I am here to tell you that time does not heal anything. Let me repeat that. Time does not heal anything. Time is non-spatial, and time has no feelings. Time has no emotions. Time has no trauma. Now, I understand what people are trying to say, when they make this statement like time heals. But unfortunately, just because you let time go by and never resolve your childhood trauma doesn't mean you are healed. Matter of fact, there are many different types of indicators that your childhood trauma has not healed and you still have open wounds, even though you are an adult man or an adult woman. Some of those indicators is that these are not all of them. Some of those indicators is that you're oftentimes cold towards others. You have no empathy towards others. You suffer from anger and rage. You suffer from people pleasing. And you tend to leave messes. And as I referred to earlier, or shall I say bullet holes. But you tend to leave messes or bullet holes in other people's lives because you abruptly walk away and don't resolve issues and problems that you yourself created in somebody else's life. So essentially, the very thing you said you would never do to hurt someone because of what you went through as a child, you actually end up doing the same thing that the person did to you. So your childhood trauma, or those messes, those bullet holes as I like to call them, now become adult bullet holes that you create in other people's lives, and the cycle continues with new victims. I know what I'm saying is not new news to anyone that's listening to me, but I also believe somebody is going to be listening and watching this video that needs to hear this and may not recognize that they may need professional help and definitely God's help. Suffering because you're stuffing things down and pretending like nothing is happening. And perhaps you may be thinking, you know what? Tomorrow is a new day. I get a chance to start all over. It'll be a fresh day and everything's going to be just fine. Only to realize at the end of the next day, at the end of tomorrow, the same mess is still there. It's almost like you can't get rid of the mess. The mess just follows you around. As I said, now it just takes the form of adult bullet holes in someone else's life. What I want to say to you is the way you're operating is not okay. It's definitely not okay. It's time for you to get the help you need. It's time for you to heal. It's time for you to heal that little boy inside of you. It's time for you to heal that little girl inside of you. That little boy and that little girl is screaming for help. For goodness sake, until you get the help you need, my advice to you is please don't get into particularly any type of romantic relationships until you are completely healed and healthy. The good news is, first and foremost, God still loves you. However, God also requires that you stop pretending like you're all right and that you don't need anybody's help facing your childhood trauma in a healthy way. You need to face your childhood trauma because you do need help. You do need help facing it in a healthy way so that you can finally get this resolved. God desires to heal you from this pain, from these terrible memories, from the disappointment. It wasn't your fault. You need to know that. It wasn't your fault, and you need to know that. Now, it's okay for you to cry out to God in case you may need to hear that. It is definitely okay for you to cry out to God and tell Him all about your anger, your disappointment, your pain. And I promise you, God will answer you if you invite Him in. If you invite Him in your life and into your situation. Part of your healing journey will eventually be learning to forgive those that created this trauma in your life so that you can be completely set free. I pray this video is a blessing, has been a blessing to you. Until we meet again.